Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric, and we got the final episode of our Halloween Horror 2021 series for you guys this week, and that is The Glass Staircase. This is a very strange game. It's unsettling, it's disconcerting, it's slightly broken, the graphics are ugly. Everything about this is definitely a love letter to PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 era survival horror games that were made by not super competent developers, not the Capcoms of the world, but some of the lesser devs. But it also takes a lot of inspiration from classic Italian horror films. Lucio Fulci's been mentioned in some of the press releases as some of the inspiration behind these games, but I see a lot of ties to Dario Argento and his opera and Suspiria movies as well. Before we get too far involved though, and before I talk about too much film history, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. But The Glass Staircase is a very unique game because the developers have done a really excellent job of making something that feels like it could have actually come out as a late stage PlayStation 1 game or an early generation PlayStation 2 game. And you'll see here that this little tone comes out talking about wanting the girl's attention. At the beginning of each day, you're given the option to take a pill or not take a pill, and basically the game is telling you that the well-behaved girls who take their medicine get to go home. Why are they here? That's part of the story. Do they ever get to go home? That's part of the story as well. This game only takes about an hour to see from start to finish, and even quicker on successive runs because you'll have a lot of it memorized. But I don't want to give away really any big story spoilers. You're going to see some gameplay spoilers for sure, but this is only $5.99. I'll leave a link in the description below. I have nothing to do with the game's development. I don't know the developers. I don't make any money if you buy it. I just think it's so cheap that if you're into survival horror games or strange horror games, it's something that you're definitely going to want to pick up and experience. Because if you're anything like me, you've probably played a ton of horror games up to this point, a lot of the most popular ones, and you're now kind of looking for more esoteric or indie experiences to get your horror fix. And The Glass Staircase is definitely going to deliver on that. And I only have one complaint about this entire game, and I know it was intentional because the developers talked about it. These are tank controls, but they're extremely slippery, extremely strange tank controls. The character movement is unlike anything I've ever played in a game, and it's going to fight you the entire time. But that goes to build suspense later on in the game as well. But you'll see here you get spoon-fed a little bit of story, and they're trying to find out whether or not Helen is a reliable girl or not, whether or not she obeys and follows the rules. So it gives you a little bit of a hint about where a certain key is hidden in this mansion, and it's your job, at least for this first girl's experience, to find that key. And you'll find that there's locked doors everywhere, something like a Silent Hill or Resident Evil. And obviously with all the fog in this level, you can definitely tell that this is very heavily influenced from the Silent Hill franchise, but you get the Resident Evil door transitions. This is kind of a love letter to all of those mid to late 90s survival horror experiences. And this game really does feel like something that could have come out back then. That's the highest compliment I can play to The Glass Staircase, is that it feels like it actually probably did come out in 98, 99 and not a few years ago as an indie release. They've done an incredible job of emulating the experience of playing these games back when they were super popular on PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. It kind of feels in a way like a lost beta for a survival horror game that was supposed to get released but never came out, and somebody found a beta almost done but not quite version of it and leaked it to the internet. But you'll see here something has happened, and we're now on to day 2, and you don't know what occurred, you just know that it's happened, and now suddenly you're in control of a second girl, and there are 4 girls in the game, and that means we have 4 different days to experience. But it does give you the choice. Do you take that tablet or don't you? And depending on what you choose, certain things might be slightly different. And I really want to leave this as spoiler free as possible, because for $5.99 and an hour and a half worth of really good survival horror content, it's a no-brainer that you probably want to go buy this after you're watching it if you even remotely like the genre. But you'll see here, we go see what Betty's note is for the day, and each day we get a little bit of a different task. There's something we need to do that's going to be different than the day before. So every day, while you are traversing the same overall environments, you're going to unlock a little bit more of the world, because you'll see here, now we're able to go outside in front of the mansion, and we're going to be discovering something new. And I like that each individual girl's experience in a different day expands on the world and allows you into areas that you otherwise couldn't see before. But I will say that the soundtrack to this game is eerily haunting, so go ahead and listen for like 30 seconds, and I'll be back and tell you more about why for $5.99 you'd be dumb not to buy this game. But enjoy! It's such a strange soundtrack. I can't say that I like it or don't like it. It just makes me uncomfortable when I listen to it. I definitely think that was the goal that they were going for, and they've 100% achieved that. But you'll see now we're in a hedge maze, and of course, while they mentioned the inspirations for this game, you can't talk about hedge mazes in horror movies if you don't talk about The Shining. And there's definitely a lot of hidden inspiration that may not have been mentioned by the developers, but you can 100% tell is here. And we need to circumvent this hedge maze to try to find this package that was dropped off for Betty. And every single goal is quite simple. It's very innocuous what you're supposed to do. First, we just needed to find a key to water some plants outside. Now we're just running around looking for a package that was delivered by a courier. What makes you go out into the world is very basic, but what happens when you're out in the world itself is quite strange. You'll see now we have that package and we need to make our way back through the maze because we don't know what we're supposed to do with this package. My assumption is you bring it inside, of course. But you'll see here as we get back to the start of the hedge maze, suddenly it's blocked off. The world is changing around us. What used to be open is closed, and what used to be closed is now open. And I really enjoy that as a design choice when you can't trust the environment around you, because this path that we saw earlier now suddenly is open and available to us. But it is a dead end. We can't get out of this maze, but as we do come around the corner, something is there waiting for us, and we're now moving on to day 3. The game definitely gives you a lot of jump scares, and I've been talking over most of them, but you may see one. Fair warning. But now on to day 3, things are completely different again. We have a completely different girl, we have a completely different task, we now have to light candles, and we need to find some matches. But the most important thing is, we've now been given a set of keys, and we're going to get to see even more of the mansion than we did before. And I love how each individual day expands on the environment you can explore and unravels the story. And I'm cutting a lot of this out here just to show you the parts that I really like. But now that we've lit that candle, and we've read that note on the floor, things are changing in the mansion. The floors are rattling, doors are rattling. Something is out there and it is looking for us and it wants to find us. But what is that thing? What is its intent and what's its purpose? You find that out from the different notes that I've been hiding from you, because at this point in time you have a pretty good understanding of what's going on in the game. Run down the stairs here, the chandelier starts to shake, and this is pretty janky looking, but I am sure it's intentional, even if it looks very, very strange. And I think that's kind of why this game is so horror-esque and so awkward feeling and makes you so uncomfortable, because it feels like it's being held together by wood screws and band-aids, but this never once crashed. So whatever bad mechanics exist in the game, they're definitely intentional. But you'll see now it's day 4 and we're the last girl in the room, and we've been given a gun and a note saying that you need to go down to the basement in front of the house, the area that's been locked this entire time, and you've been definitely curious what's underneath there, and you know whatever happens down there cannot be a positive experience. I love that the game shows you that door on day 2, but makes you go through 2 complete gameplay segments before you can actually see what happens down here. And it even gives you a choice. Do you want to go left or do you want to go right? I love when you get those binary decisions of what you're going to see next. Is one right and one wrong? Is one a good choice and a bad choice? Do you need to go to both? I love that decision-making process in games. But now that we're down in the basement, what is it that we're going to find? Because you know, in any horror game or movie or otherwise, going into the basement is never a good idea. No one ever finds anything positive down there. And while I'm not going to show you the end of this game or even the big bad monster that we're going to be fighting, I will show you a little bit of the lead up to that. But like I said earlier, if you've never heard of this game, if you like survival horror games and are looking for something new to play, I 100% recommend you go and pick it up, because it is a really fun and unique game, and I really appreciate that the developers went out of their way to try to emulate that late PlayStation 1, early PlayStation 2 experience. It's a combination of Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Alone in the Dark, and so many other horror franchises that it just, you can tell what's going on in the game, where the inspiration comes from, even if it is a complete new experience that you've probably never played before. But yeah, that is the glass staircase. I can't recommend it enough. It makes you feel suspense. It makes you feel anxiety. It's creepy. The music is very dissonant and strange, but also perfect for what's going on. And you'll see as we come around the corner here, we find one of the girls from the previous day standing naked, facing the wall, almost like the Blair Witch Project towards the end. But what happened to her? Why is she stabbing us? And how do we move forward? Well, those are all the questions the game asks. But short of that, that is Halloween Horror 2021. I tried to pick 4 really diverse and interesting games to talk about, and I'm sure I'll be back next Halloween with 4 more. Short of that, do me a huge favor, go down below and like, subscribe, and hit notification bell, and have a happy Halloween. I died. Bye-bye.